Hello friends, my name is Versatility. I'm a life coach and I practice human design and astrology in my coaching practice. Today I wanted to maybe lighten up the political energy a little bit, or at least give some insight into these characters that we call our presidential candidates. I wanted to do that with the system human design. Human design is an incredible tool of insight and epiphany in your life if you apply it into your relationships, into understanding your pathways of how you express energy regularly, consistently, and reliably in your life. But also it shows you how you get conditioned by forces in your life, environmental factors, relationships, ideas, emotions. So I wanted to share a little bit about human design through the lens of these two candidates. And it's okay if you don't know any design, you'll learn some things in this talk here. And if you're interested in doing a session in human design after you learn a bit more, definitely hit me up at findyourpowerplaces.com. So let's look at the design first of Donald Trump. So here we have Donald Trump's human design. Don't worry about anything on the right side of the screen here. This is the astrological placements. But we also see the body graph here. Now, what I want to focus on today with you is looking at the two candidates' charts, body graphs, and showing you a little bit of their similarities and also a little bit of their differences. So some of these things will be obvious once you hear them, but I hope you'll gain some insight and get excited about this system because it's truly amazing. So in human design, we all have an energy type. That energy type is determined by the different energy centers that are defined or undefined in our design. Now, this is where you see the colored in centers here, these 9 energy centers. These are also determined by the planetary placements when we were born. So depending on the moment of our birth, when we interfaced with the earth plane, when our soul connected with the earth, we had these particular planets in very specific, what we would call gates in human design, or gene keys, or genetic codons. So when you see these numbers in human design and these red and black lines, you're actually seeing definition on the genetic level. And this is within all of us, we'll have different definition. These different gene keys, they're like codes within us, right? They're actually archetypes within us, patterns within us, genes within us. Now, when the two genes connect with each other, this forms a channel of energy. This is where you see these full channels. Like in Donald's design here, you have this channel, the 3536. You have this channel, the 2145. You have this channel, the 659. And you have this channel, the 1762. So that means he's got activations on two sides of a channel, two gates that are communicating to each other, two genes that are communicating to each other. Okay, so that's pretty technical. But let's get into more of the general themes here. So first of all, one of the first things when we're looking at both of their charts is that both Donald Trump and, we'll start with the similarities, both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are what we call manifesting generators. Now, that's one of the 5 different types of energy. Here's Clinton's design next to it, to Donald Trump's. So, manifesting generators have the generator, the sacral center defined. That's that red square you see there. This is what gives us the energy to respond to life with an ability to activate ourselves, to be using our generating life force energy to do on the planet. Now, manifesting generators have a ton of energy. They're 110% in whatever they do. The key is that they do what they love, or usually they get burnt out and exhausted. And this is where human design comes in to help, which is ideally to have someone use their energy wisely, which in human design we call using your strategy. And so for manifesting generators like both Trump and Clinton, their strategy is to first respond to a situation, a project, or something like, do you want to campaign for president? And then they got to check in and see, do I have the energy for this? Now, any big decision, they're going to put 100% of their energy into. So once they say yes, it's going to be very hard to back down or back off. And manifesting generators can really achieve a lot in this life. Now, they're different than generators. Generators have the capacity to bring their energy to a project, just like manifesting generators do. But manifesting energy that is added on to generating energy says, once I get that, yes, I'm into this, I want to give my energy to this, then there's a motor behind that. There's this oomph, this ability to actually go out and catalyze projects and people, initiate projects and people, really to make things happen, to manifest things. So manifesting generator they're both like a manifestor and a generator together. So the key though for manifesting generators is to respond first to situations, and so then they know they have the energy, and once they say yes, then they can start to motivate other people to be a part of their project, their team, their campaign. So they're both manifesting generators, which doesn't surprise us. They also well, let's pause there. Let's look at one of the differences. So there's all kinds of manifesting generators, and one of the things that becomes important for manifesting generators is to use their authority to make a decision. Now, authority is a huge concept in human design. It's also called inner truth or inner authority. And it's basically saying that one of these centers in our design, that we have definition, right? That's where you see the colored in. That's where the planets are activating these centers when you were born. One of these centers becomes a place of final decision, where we go to make and feel like this is true for me. Now, that could never be a center that is white, as you see here, or undefined, because those are the centers that are influenced or conditioned by our environment. Those are those places of energy within us that, we're always changing there depending on who we're around. So you can never have a white center, an undefined center, as a place of authority. Now, even though Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are both manifesting generators, they have a very different authority. So if you look at Donald Trump's chart, he has the emotional center defined. Hillary Clinton does not. Trump also has the will center, which is this red triangle. It's also called the ego or the heart center. He has that center defined as well, and Hillary does not. And so overall, Trump has a little bit more definition through 5 centers instead of 4. But Trump does not have his self or G center, the identity center that is yellow in Hillary Clinton's design. He does not have that defined. Neither one of them have the spleen center over on the left side, the white triangle you see. They don't have that center defined, and neither one of them have the pressure center of the root defined. Also, neither one of them have the head center defined, and they both have mental definition and throat definition, expressive definition, but through different channels of energy. This is what we're going to talk about. So, first of all, what does it mean to have this different authority? Well, emotional authority is what Donald Trump has. Maybe this doesn't surprise people. And it maybe not surprise people that Hillary does not have the emotional center defined. Emotionally defined people, the solar plexus center, here on the right side, they are designed on a mechanical genetic level to ride emotional highs and lows. And usually they'll take people with them on that journey. I mean, if you watch the news and you see the campaigns and you see that, you feel the energy at Trump's campaigns and the turmoil kind of the energy of the emotions around everything with Trump, that is absolutely 100% this emotional center. I guess she could get fired up a little bit, but Clinton is a lot more, solid with her emotions most of the time. Now, this is the thing. Emotionally defined people are designed to go in a kind of emotional wave where they ride some highs, they ride some lows. Eventually, they'll come into a neutral zone where they don't feel triggered too high or too low, too enthusiastic and upbeat or too low and melancholy. The key is that decisions are made only from that middle point where they're more neutral. A lot of times decisions or actions or emotions are resented or regretted by the person who expressing them because they haven't expressed the full spectrum yet. Sometimes we kind of go off the emotional handle a bit. And this is definitely Donald Trump's case. He has his definition with his emotional center through a particular channel of energy, which is the 3536. So I want to talk to you about this because the 3536 is what's giving him his authority. This is where he's going to make his final decision. It connects the throat center to the emotional center. Now, this is a very powerful channel. It's a channel that, in a way, wants to experience everything in life. And one name of it is the channel of versatility. Another is a channel of transitoriness. It's basically, its whole purpose is to drive towards obtaining experience. No matter what, even if there's obvious value to it, this channel wants to seize life by the reins and experience all of it. It's another way to say this is it's an emotional manifesting channel. So through the power of the emotions, like I want to experience this, I'm going to go make it happen. That's a huge amount of Donald Trump's energy. And it's often we experience first, we live the experience, and then we learn the lesson after, right? And so, this is a channel that can essentially get itself into all kinds of trouble. And it could learn from it or not, depending on the level of consciousness, which is a big theme in human design. Once you know these patterns within you, then you could express them at a greater frequency, a higher frequency. So the other thing about this channel, it's a collective channel. Some of the channels in human design are individual in their nature. Some are tribal and some are collective. Collective channels, when we have them, we need to be a part of a collective experience and express our experience out to the collective. It's exactly what Donald Trump does every time he speaks. And it's also that everyone will kind of know about our experience in some way. And this is what's happening with people coming out with the stories of his sexual assaults and everything else. So the collective becomes a kind of a driving force in the emotions here for Donald Trump. And that's why he's been able to rally so many people around him. It's like nobody does anything alone with this channel. They take people with them on their journey, and it's an emotional journey. So people could kind of ride his highs and his lows as well. Now, this is interesting because Hillary Clinton does not have the emotional center defined. So one of the potentials when we are around someone who doesn't have that someone who does have that center defined, and we do not, is that we can get very conditioned by them. So that means that Hillary would have to watch out for being incredibly reactive to whatever toxic emotions that Donald might be throwing around. And so it gets very dangerous because as soon as we get in the aura of that, extreme emotional energy, we can very easily go on that other person's wave. And for Hillary, it's not going to work for her. Now, sometimes she's maybe managed that better than others by kind of letting him go on his rants and not emotionally reacting to it. Now, she may be feeling a lot inside, probably, especially because one of the other big differences is that Donald has the will center defined. That's the red triangle you see, the ego center here. Now, yeah, ego center. So yes, people who have this center, which is about 30% of the population, they can have a huge ego. And he's a Leo rising with Mars and Leo. This also has a potential of someone who has a very large ego to them, but not necessarily. But in this case, probably. The ego center though is not just like I have a big ego. It's actually a center that has a lot of power in it. Now this is going to be the power to influence people, the power to actually make things happen, to keep promises, follow through with things. Now, whether or not he would do that, we won't know unless he's president. But the whole point of this center is the ability to act, to follow through on our actions. And it can be a very protective center. It can really help to defend the people around it. This is part of why he has such a strong defense mechanism going on with himself and America and that whole idea. But something that happens is when a person like Hillary, who has no definition here, she's completely open, when they're around each other, his aggression that's in this center, his fire that's in this center, could just spin her out like crazy, because it can feel like this war going off. And unless people are very conscious with this will center, they're kind of like they can really exhibit the sort of dragon breathing fire type of energy, and those who are in the path of the fire can get incinerated. So it's a very intense energy. Now, so if she reacts to that, she will literally feel it burning inside of her, and it won't work. She won't win the battle. Her better path is to reflect to him his own egocentric and aggressive energy, his defensiveness, his intensity, his dramatic energy, and reflect that back. So in a way, he self-destructs, that kind of thing. So this, again, we're looking a lot at the shadow energies here of these centers. Let's talk about Hillary's definition, which Donald doesn't have, which is the self center, the identity center, or the G center here, the yellow center here. This center is all about direction in life. Where are we going? Being guided in life. Now, it's really fascinating to understand that they have a big difference here. Hillary has this center defined through a channel we call the channel of the alpha, the channel of logical leadership, the 731 here. Oh, and before I move on, I didn't mention that this channel, the 2145, that gives this willful energy to Donald, is something that he expresses through his throat center. This channel is called the channel of money. People who have this channel definitely have the ability to make money, to earn it. They have the ability to influence people with the money that they have. Money becomes a major value system. This is Donald Trump. I mean, we don't have to say any more. It's a very powerful channel to have. And it's saying that that's his driving element. That drives his will, that drives his ego, that drives his heart. Now, coming to Hillary, what gives her a sense of direction in life is this desire and need to be a leader. That's the 731. That leadership, though, is not. It's actually this is a logical energy, meaning we lead others through a process where we could say, if this, then that, and this is why people follow us with this channel. So, it's an energy that like a general who, they may not be the best at what they do, but they may have a real logical explanation of why we should do X, Y, and Z. And because that sounds really right, we can follow them. Not a bad channel to have for a president. Can it be followed through? That's the question. Now, Hillary's definition also is through this channel called the 2034, down to her sacral center. So her authority is her sacral center, her generator center. Through this channel, we call the channel of keeping busy, the drive to be active. And people who have this channel, they have to keep doing in their life. They have to keep really busy in their life. And it's like for the sake of being busy. It doesn't mean that that's going to be fulfilling or that's going to mean something to them, but there is this intense pulsing energy of I have to achieve. There's a lot of ambition with this channel. And it's different than Donald's collective energy that's giving him his authority, right? That channel we talked about, the 3536, he's taking people on his emotional journey, right? Whether that's in a high place or a low place or, toxic place or whatever it might be. Hillary's is an individual channel that gives her, that's like within herself, she has to keep being busy, keep achieving things. And sometimes it doesn't matter with what others might say to her with that. It's just this individual process. So, she's better off if she takes guidance from people in terms of where to put that energy and where to direct her path. But it doesn't mean that person who has this channel will. They can get very exhausted doing things that they don't care about. Thus, being on the campaign trail. I mean, obviously she cares about it, but it's something where people who have this energy can be so busy that they burn themselves out. So, okay, so this is one of her channels. We talked about the channel of leadership as well. Now, just a couple more differences here. Both of them have their mental centers defined and their throat centers defined, but through two different channels of energy. Donald has it through the channel, the 1762. Now, this channel can be a very powerful channel to have when we are speaking to people. They actually call it the channel of opinions. It's one of the names for this channel. And the opinions is a little bit of extra information. The opinions, though, are actually, they have the potential to organize people's lives, to help them understand and systematize things. Now, people that have this channel have a potential to present something logically and it to make sense to people, and then they to understand something. And so this can be a very convincing channel to have for people. But usually there's a potential for having a strong opinion behind it. This is why you should believe this, or this is why you should follow this because of this. Logic, right? Now, we can argue whether Donald exhibits logic at all in his conversations, or his theories or his philosophies, but he definitely has opinions. So there's a difference between like a kind of leadership that will follow because of logic that we saw over in Hillary's design, and the ability to get our opinions out to people and express them over here with Donald 1762. Now, this logic could create some really beautiful organization for people, but it has to have some basis in and some foundation in something. So when you look at Hillary's channel that she has defined, where her ideas are coming, her concepts are coming through and then being spoken out from the mental center to the throat, it's in the 4323. This is a very powerful channel as well. This is a channel that is all about, now this is interesting because her channel is an individual channel and Donald's mental channel is a collective channel. So in a way, some of the things he could say can really tap into a collective. He can give some reference to facts in history, whether or not they're true, but he can actually pull from that pretty well. There's an ability to remember those things. Hillary's channel is called the channel of structuring. This channel there is a lot of genius that can come out of this channel. there's what I mean by genius is there's these insightful flashes. There's these intuitive flashes that can come through. The key with this channel is, who is my audience? Can they understand? Can they receive that insight that I have now? And is it really the right time for me to communicate? Is it the right way to communicate it? Because once this person with this channel communicates something, it can have a huge impact. Some people will think it's crazy. Some people will think it's genius. So, but whatever it does, it can really create whole new structures for whoever it touches. This is a very powerful channel to have as a president. It means that whatever she would say can influence a lot of people, just like as she's campaigning, it's the same kind of process. So these are some of the differences and some of the similarities. You know, a different authority. You know, we would advise Donald with his emotional center, do not make a decision in the moment. Do not react in the moment. Well, is he following his design? No. Human design says when you're emotionally defined, give yourself the time and the patience to make a key decision or to say something big. But he's so willful and so driven in his energy with that ego center that in a way there's a lot of reactivity going on here, right? And we can see he's done things in his life just for the experience with that 35-36. Both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have the same profile. Profile is determined by the conscious sun and earth and the unconscious sun and earth. So they're both 1-3s, which is quite interesting. The 1-3, the one conscious part of the profile is something that says that in my personality, I need to get to the core or the roots of things. I need to research things. I need to investigate things. I need to have a solid foundation. Now, that can be very helpful as a president, to really have our facts down, to really know what we're doing. The third line is a line of experimentation. And so the third line is unconscious in them. And so this process is more like, I have to experience things to know if they work or not. So in a way, they both kind of come with this thing of like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. Which is very much the sort of the MO of the 1-3 profile. There's 12 different profiles. The 1-3 is very personalized. Its own experience is a lot of how it discovers what the world is like. And the 1-3 can really have a pessimistic outlook because it can really learn what doesn't work a lot of the time. And, well, look at the whole campaign. Look at how negative it is. And your thing doesn't work, my thing doesn't work, everything's screwed up. That's that's kind of the shadow of the 1-3. Instead of, this experiment has worked, this hasn't. This is where we can really change things. There's an anarchist quality to the third line. But it needs to get out of its own little bubble and see the bigger picture, right? And you could say both of them are in their own bubbles, right? And this is why they're both out of touch with who most of us really are here in this country. But that's a little bit about their profile. But I think a lot more interesting to look at their the different authorities that they have. Hillary's got to follow her gut. That's what the Sacral Center is. Her gut response. Should I say yes to this or not? Should I do this or not? Maybe with the emails, maybe she got influenced by some emotional thing, someone on her staff. I don't know. Maybe she had an idea and she thought, this is the reason why it's a good idea. Maybe there was a fear response. There's a lot of different possibilities. But probably if she checked in with her gut, it would have been like, no, that's not a good idea. But, when you have that drive to be the leader, right? And that's what keeps you busy and active and ambitious in your life, that may have motivated this process. I just forgot to mention, Donald's completely open self-center, the identity center here. This can make someone into a total chameleon where they can change who they are at any moment. He's also a Gemini in astrology, the shapeshifter, many masks, one day to the next. You know, is that, as a politician, many politicians are like that. But this is why you might see that the story can change all the time and he can be what other people might want him to be. Lots more to talk about in the designs. Wanted to give you this, this introduction to human design through two very public figures who you could see how this system and how, a good chunk of it describes a lot about who these people are, and maybe gives us more insight as we're, watching the circus out there, and maybe inspires you to study more about your own personal design, your friends, your family, your lovers. Such an incredible tool, gives so much insight to be compassionate with each other, to respect how each other make decisions in our life, and to also see where we influence each other.